Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to use something called interval notation. Now you use interval notation whenever you solve inequalities, whenever you have a greater than or less than or greater than or equal to or less than or equal to problem. And a notation, remember, is just a different way of writing an answer. It's a way of writing something. So let's quickly go through this inequality, let's solve it, and then we'll talk about how to write it as an interval notation answer, okay? All right, so again, this is an inequality. You solve it just like you would just a regular equation. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. That's going to give me 3x is greater than or equal to 2. Let's divide both sides by 3. And my final answer, therefore, is going to be x is greater than or equal to 2/3. Now, that's a perfectly acceptable answer, right? But if you want to write it using interval notation, this is what you need to do. So step number 1 is to write it on a number line. All right, so take your answer and just put it on a number line real quickly. And you'll notice that x is going to be 2/3. I'm just going to pretend that that's 2/3. I don't have to worry about the slash marks, just as long as I'm on the right side of the 0. I know that it's equal to, so I'm going to darken in the circle. Call it 2/3. And I know that my arrow is pointing to the right, so I'm going to point to the right as well. Okay, so that's my number line answer. With interval notation, you need to do 2 things. You're going to first look at this side of the problem, this side of the number line. So just ignore this upper part that goes into infinity and look right here. And identify where the end point is. And the end point is 2/3. So we're going to write down 2/3. In that same step, now you're going to identify what the right side of the number line answer is. In this case, it's positive infinity, so we're just going to put that there like that. Okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to use either brackets or parentheses to finish off our answer. Now what do we use brackets and parentheses for? You're going to use a bracket on either the left or the right side if your number line ends or equals that point. Now what do I mean by that? So let's put down equals the end point. A little bit off screen there. Okay, so if it equals the end point, and you use the parentheses when it doesn't equal the end point. The end point. Let's see how we would apply it here. Now again, if you look at the left-hand side, you'll notice that the 2/3, that the number line equals the end point of 2/3. So since it equals that, on the left side, we're going to put a bracket. Okay? Now we go to the right side, and we'll notice that the right side is an infinity, and it just keeps on going. So there is no end point to equal, is there? You're going to put a parentheses. And this answer is the interval notation equivalent of x is greater than or equal to 2/3. Why do we use this notation? It's really good when we start using more complex systems of answers and that sort of thing, when we have more than one inequality that we need to express as an answer. Interval notation actually ends up being a much easier way to write out the answer, and that's the only reason that we're actually doing this, okay? So I hope that was helpful. Again, notice how we do this. Let's go from the beginning, just as a brief wrap-up. Interval notations are used with inequalities. Once you get an inequality, step 1 is to put it on a number line. Step 2 is to decide what the end points are on your number line. And step 3, which I guess I really didn't write down here, is to decide whether you want to put a bracket or a parentheses around the either end of the numbers that you've got, of your 2 endpoints. Okay, I hope that was helpful.